Hello, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started with our Week 11 housekeeping items. This will be the last one for the class. We'll address again the feedback on the homework and quizzes that you have through the end of this week to submit those. Assignment 1.2, the Math Resource Center assignment is closed. All feedback inside the discussion forum should be available to you inside the class portal. The last reminder on the honor lock practice test, because the final exam will be open this week. We'll talk about the reflections, discussion 11.1 for this week. It is only attendance based. There are no points earned. It's only strictly used for attendance. A reminder on the midterm exam. We'll talk about the expectations utilizing honor lock for the final exam due this week. Some end of term FAQs. So we're going to address those as well. I will refer you back to this message. Typically in 27 years worth of teaching, I've collected the most common things that typically students ask during the last week. Those will be addressed inside this video. We'll talk about your relative points earned after you complete the final exam and making sure that you're at a certain threshold to get to that next highest grade. So we'll talk in detail about that inside this, and then my availability during this last week of the course. So let's go ahead and get started. No different than the previous 10 weeks. As you continue to finish up this week, any homework, quiz, practice, midterm exam, final exam, midterm exam, etc., those scores are automatically updated to the class portal. At this point, all your discussion forum items should be accurate inside the class portal as well. Homework assignments, practice midterm, practice final, practice until mastery. You can do those problems all the way through this Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time or Mountain Daylight Time, depending on when you're taking the course. And quizzes can be taken up to 3 times with the exception of the midterm. Midterm can only be taken once, and the best scores recorded out of those 3 attempts to the class portal gradebook. Again, last reminder on this one, if for some reason you did not enroll inside of my stat lab during the previous weeks or need a refresher in terms of viewing feedback, this video is available as an announcement inside the class portal, or you can go back to week 1's video where I covered this in great detail. Assignment 1.2 is closed. That score is final. This is regardless with or without any approved accommodation via the university, because it had a 21-day window assigned for 7 14-day extensions. So that covers any accommodation that would have been there on that assignment. Feedback, as we talked about, the discussions should be out there and finalized. If there are questions on how discussion forum was graded, please review the rubric and or send me an email, and I'd be more than willing to clarify. As we progress in week 11, discussion forum postings cannot be resubmitted unless there was something via an accommodation that the university approved, and I've already addressed that to those students who that applies to. Honor lock practice test. For those that have not done this the first 10 weeks of the course, it's time to do it, because come after Saturday morning, I am not going to be available inside the class portal and answering emails Saturday night, Sunday night saying, hey, Mike, Mr. Weeman, I can't get into honor lock. Let's deal with this Monday through Friday of this particular week. Go out, complete this. If there's issues, either obtain or borrow somebody else's device or remedy the situation, because previous 10 weeks I have stated and will continue to state that not being able to get into honor lock will not grant an incomplete or an extension inside of the class. So I addressed this week 1, week 2, week 3, all the way through week 10, and I'm doing it again week 11. So please review the announcement that's out there on how to complete this. Make sure everything is good to go so that when you do take the final exam this week, that everything will not be, or everything will be in order, and you will have a successful experience taking that final exam. All right, next slide. Week 11's discussion forum. Opens Monday of week 11, closes 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time or Mountain Daylight Time on Sunday. The discussion forum is not graded for this week. It is solely used for attendance purposes. This is a reflection on the class. So you can go in and state what you enjoyed, what issues you had, those types of things. So it's just a summary of kind of getting some feedback from you, the adult learner or student, in terms of this. So again, it is not a required forum. However, if you do need to earn attendance from week 11's perspective, you're welcome to post. And it does not require 2 quality responses in this instance. It's solely used for attendance purposes. Okay, reminder about the midterm exam. We've stated this since week 5. It's open through the rest of this week, 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time or Mountain Daylight Time of week 11 through the last day of the class. Only 1 attempt on the midterm exam. The midterm exam is not proctored. The final exam is proctored using Honor Lock, but the midterm exam is not. And again, it's open all the way through 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time or Mountain Daylight Time of this particular week, Sunday, week 11. Okay, so the final exam, this opened this week. Open Monday at 12 a.m. Mountain Standard Time or Mountain Daylight Time. Remains open through Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time or Mountain Daylight Time. Now, I'm going to cover this in the FAQs, but I want to state this now. This does not mean when taking the final exam this week that you're wanting to start this exam at 11 or 11:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time or Mountain Daylight Time, because the system will automatically cut off any access to the final exam at 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time or Mountain Daylight Time. If you want the full 4 hours to take the final exam, you need to be authenticated all the way through the Honor Lock process by 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time or Mountain Daylight Time, depending on when you're taking the course. So if it's the case where you start this at 11 o'clock Mountain Time, Mountain Standard Time or Mountain Daylight Time on Sunday night of week 11, you're only going to get an hour to finish the final exam. So I've announced this since day 1 that you want to make sure that Honor Lock is up and running, as well as to be proactive. I recommend taking this final exam by Friday. That way, at the latest Saturday morning, if we need to rectify any issue, we can do that, or I can point you to the right area. If it's Honor Lock related, again, you had the first full 10 weeks and the beginning of week 11 to resolve that. So incompletes and extensions are not going to be granted. This is why we've been talking about this the past 10 plus weeks inside of the course. All right, so there is a step-by-step instruction on what you need to do to authenticate an Honor Lock, show your ID, etc. All the steps are in this announcement called Final Exam 11, and this will be inside of your class portal. So we'll give you the step-by-step instructions. You can also review this video that is out there in terms of what you need to click, what you need to do to get into the final exam. So follow these step-by-step. This will get you into the final exam as well. So again, this will also list what you can and cannot have in terms of the final exam. And we'll cover that inside the FAQs here in great detail. So let's go ahead and continue on. So, been teaching 27 plus years, and I've been around for a very long time. I know what students typically ask the last week of class, so that's why I'm addressing this here in the FAQs. If for some reason you send the email, I am going to point you back to this video because I want to make sure everybody is on the same page in terms of the understanding of what's going to occur relative to the final exam as well as the end of class. So the first thing is, do I offer extra credit? I've been teaching 27 plus years. The answer to that is no. There is no extra credit in the class. If you're asking for extra credit, typically this means that you're having issues with the existing objectives. There's no point in putting something on top of that that's beyond the scope of the course. So the answer to that is no. I don't believe in extra credit. In 27 years, I have never offered extra credit inside my classes, nor does NAU require that I have to offer extra credit. So that addresses that question. Will you allow me to make up assignments inside the course? The answer to that is you've had it since day one and continue to have that through the last day of the class, Sunday of week 11, with all your homeworks, your quizzes, your midterm exam, your practice midterm exam, your practice final exam, as well as the final exam, which consists of over 90% of the items inside the course. Discussion forum postings cannot be made up. We've stated that at the end of week 2, week 3, week 4, all the way through this last week. So discussion forums cannot be made up. Those scores are final out there. And assignment 1.2, that one with the Math Resource Center, that 5-point assignment also cannot be made up. Outside of that, you still have till the very last day of the course full control over 90% of the total grade inside the class. So to answer that is, yes, you've already got it, with the exception of discussion forums, as well as the Math Resource Center quiz assignment. So they remain open all the way through 11:59 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time or Mountain Standard Time on Sunday of week 11. I'm requesting an extension or incomplete. Will you allow me to complete the work after class is completed? I will tell you 99 chances out of 100, it's not going to happen. The reason being is, just like what we talked about before, I gave Life Happens time, i.e. the full 11 weeks, to complete over 90% of the class material inside of the course. Now, there may be emergency circumstances that warrant an incomplete. You have been admitted into the hospital, not a I've got the sniffles type thing, but I mean, literally, you've been in the hospital all of the last week of the course. You got deployed from a military perspective, something emergency that I would address on an individual case-by-case basis. Coming up to me Sunday night and saying, hey, I just ran out of time. Sorry, it's not going to happen. I have stressed time management, being proactive throughout the scope of the 11 weeks inside the course, and that's not going to be a justification. Not being able to log into Honor Lock is not going to be a justification, because we've talked about that every single week inside of the course. If you are in need of an incomplete, I need to know that by noon, Mountain Daylight Time or Mountain Standard Time of Thursday of week 11. There's paperwork I have to fill out with the academic dean, and I want to make sure that that is registered before the class ends. So again, if it's a matter of I ran out of time or time management issues, or I forgot about the final exam Sunday night, are you going to let me take it on Monday after class completes? The answer to that is no, because again, I've been more than flexible beyond the scope of the normal late assignment policy inside of the class. So again, odds are 99 chances out of 100, it's not going to happen. If there is a justified emergency that's there, or I get an administrative directive that tells me I have to do it, then that's another thing as well. But from a faculty's perspective, unless I justify it as a medical emergency, it's not going to come from me. So not trying to be rude or harsh, but I have been more than flexible in terms of allowing you to do 90+% of the work inside of the class. So odds are extensions or incompletes are not going to be administered. What do you recommend to study for the final exam? That practice final exam you did in week 10 or currently doing right now is the problems you want to concentrate along concurrently utilizing that Excel template for the practice final exam. Those same types of problems are going to be the ones that you're going to see on the final exam. Now, I put this disclaimer here that the problems are not 100% in sync. Now, you'll be able to use the template regardless on the ones that involve, but I always put this caveat in there that, okay, Mike, Mr. Weeman, problem 12 wasn't exactly the same. Well, the objectives that you're going to do on the practice final exam are going to be the same objectives as you do on the final exam. Are they going to be exactly equal to each other? The answer to that is no, but it's 99.9%. But I always throw that out there so that a student can't come back and say, hey, it wasn't exactly the same. The answer to that is it's pretty close to 100%. So always like to throw that out, just making sure that that was covered. When do you take the final exam? You take it starting the beginning of week 11, 12 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, open through now at 11:59 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time or Mountain Standard Time on Sunday of week 11. So it's open for those full 7 days. Where do you take the final exam? Do we have to use HonorLock? Final exam is first you log into HonorLock, you authenticate, and you're going to follow all the steps that are in this announcement inside the class portal that says Final Exam 11. So you're going to authenticate with HonorLock. HonorLock's going to insert the password in there, and then you will start the final exam utilizing my stat lab. So the final exam is still taken inside of my stat lab. You just have to use HonorLock to authenticate. Now, you don't get the password to the final exam from the instructor. If you send me an email, I'm going to point you back to this video because you must use HonorLock to authenticate the password. What's going to happen inside of HonorLock is you will authenticate, do your driver's license or state ID, along with the other authentication steps that are required. Once you do that, there will be a process where the password from HonorLock is going to be transferred into my stat lab. That is how the password is invoked. So again, if you send me an email saying, hey, what's the password to the final exam? I'm going to point you back to this video because again, I don't give out the password. I don't even know what the password is. So it is transferred from HonorLock into my stat lab as part of the process of proctoring that final exam. When is the final exam due? Week 11, Sunday night, 11:59 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time or Mountain Standard Time, depending on when you are taking the course. No late submissions. We went through this since day one of the course. Everything is due at the end of this week at 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time or Mountain Daylight Time. My stat lab on all assignments will close out at this date and time. Can you submit it late? The answer is no. It's not going to be available for you to complete unless an incomplete or extension has been administered or I've been given an administrative directive to do so. Now, this is important for those that are going to wait until the 11th hour. I just want to make sure everybody is on the same page in terms of this final exam. So let's say it's Sunday night of week 11. It's 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time or Mountain Daylight Time, and you start the final. So does that mean you get until 3 in the morning or the full 4 hours to take that final exam? The answer to that is no. As I stated before, 11:59 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time or Mountain Standard Time, i.e. when you're taking the class on Sunday, is the last submission that's going to occur on that final exam. So if you started at 11 o'clock Mountain Time, you're only going to get 1 hour to complete that final exam. Now, if you think you can finish it in an hour, that's great. But the system is automatically going to shut down at 11:59 p.m. Mountain Time on Sunday. If you want the full 4 hours to complete the final exam, you must be authenticated. In other words, all of the pre-check steps, ID, room scan, all of that stuff in there, ready to go to start the final exam at 8 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time or Mountain Standard Time, depending on when you're taking the course. That ensures you the 4 hours. So I would recommend starting it at 7:30 Mountain Standard Time at the latest, or Mountain Daylight Time at the latest. Because if you want the full 4 hours, you've got to be in there starting it inside of my stat lab at that point by 8 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time or Mountain Standard Time. My recommendation, get the final exam done by Friday. If there's any hiccups or issues, we can address that by Friday and or Saturday morning. have you contact tech support, resolve any of the issues, because come Sunday, 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time or Mountain Daylight Time, you're not going to get an extension or incomplete as a result of not getting into honor lock and or getting into the final exam. So again, you need to be proactive here. I cannot stress this enough. It's not going to be up for negotiation unless an administrator tells me otherwise. So from my perspective, I will hold firm on this. Now, if I get an administrative directive and a dean or the provost tells me otherwise, I'll follow whatever they tell me. But from my perspective, this is the rule from the class perspective. Can you use books or notes during the final exam? The answer to that is no. You cannot have, you can only have one monitor going when honor lock is up and running. So that doesn't, you cannot have a second monitor with a YouTube video up or Google search. You can't use your iPhone or your Android doing searches. You can't use the A-Lady. I'm not going to say that because mine's going to go off, or Siri, or any of the other stuff that's out there. You can't use any external resource. The only thing you can have is scratch paper and a handheld calculator, as well as the Excel template for the practice final exam. Outside of it, if it's not listed, you cannot use it during the final exam. So always like to make mention of that. You can use the practice final exams template. During that time, inside the room, when you're taking the final exam, I totally get you may have little kids or significant other may pop in inadvertently. They come in, they leave. I see that on the camera because things are recorded during the final exam. That's not an issue. If they're in and out, boom, the dog walks in, etc., not a problem. However, if that significant other or somebody starts helping you, or I start seeing you text on your phone, or I start seeing off to the right, you're doing one of these little jobbers and you're looking at another PC that's off here to the right, that's going to be a red flag. That's going to be an academic integrity issue. And in all likelihood, you're not going to receive any credit on the final exam. So these are the only things you can have going. So please ensure you got a quiet room while you're taking the final. Again, the off chance a kid runs in or something along those lines, I get that. You know, I had youngsters many years ago. I totally understand that aspect. But if it's a matter of, okay, you go, you take them out of the room and you come back in real quickly. Now, don't leave 30 minutes and say, oh, okay, I can, you know, go research something while I'm not on camera. You know, if it's a minute or two, you're taking a kid to the other room to have somebody else watch them, that's one thing. But overall, you should be in a quiet area during the scope of that final exam. If I see anything fishy, that may result in an academic integrity issue. So please be cognizant of that during the time that you're taking the final exam in honor lock. Okay, scientific calculator, Microsoft Excel, we already addressed that. Your scientific calculator can be the one built into the operating system, i.e. the one, say for Windows perspective, you can use that. You can use Microsoft Excel. Odds are you're probably going to use Excel for most of your calculations. If you want a handheld calculator, that's fine too. You can't use the TI-83 though. Any of the 80 series of the TIs, i.e. the ones with the larger screens, like, give me a second. See if this picks up. Like that. I don't know if that came up, but the one, if it's got a big screen that looks something like that, odds are you're probably not going to be able to use it from a final exam perspective. Now, if there's a question on the model number, TI, Casio, HP calculator that you're using, send me an email. I'll verify whether you can or can't use it. But odds are if it's only got 1 or 2 lines on it, it's probably fine from a scientific calculator perspective. I will tell you, since the 10 plus weeks that we've been working in homework and quizzes, we've been utilizing the Excel templates to come up with the answers. Odds are that's probably what you're going to use the majority of. But if you want a calculator, it has to be one that does not have a Wi-Fi connection. That means your Android or your iPhone or your smartphone or another smart device cannot be used as your calculator. So again, that is an academic integrity issue if you utilize your Android or your iPhone, because you could be sitting there on the camera and I could be sitting there with my smartphone, sitting there typing or texting or trying to get something off the web browser off that smart device. So if it's Wi-Fi enabled, odds are you can't use it from a scientific calculator perspective. So again, just like to make sure everybody's on the same page in terms of the expectations. Can you have another website open? The answer to that is no. The only thing you can have open is the Excel template, along with the view inside of HonorLock, the final exam going from my stat lab perspective. You cannot have any external resources. If you have one, that is an academic integrity violation and potentially a 0 on that final exam. We don't want to go down that route. How long do you have to take the final exam? The minimum of 4 hours. If you are logged in through HonorLock on or before 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time or Mountain Daylight Time, depending when you're taking the course or when you start it, and 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, Mountain Daylight Time. So again, if you start this final at 11:30 Mountain Time on a Sunday night, you're only going to get 30 minutes to complete the final. We already previously talked about it, but again, I cannot stress enough, don't wait until late Sunday night to take the final exam, because there are no extensions, there are no incompletes. We've addressed this 10 plus weeks at this point. So again, this is already previously discussed here, unless I get an administrative directive that tells me otherwise. This is often asked to me at the end, and while I empathize with this, you're probably not going to like my answer, but it is what it is here. So I get questions a lot of times that says I think or deserve a better grade than what's listed in the grade book. I'm going to lose my financial aid. Work is not going to reimburse me for the course. I'm going to have to pay back the government, etc. What can you offer me? The answer to that, from an ethical perspective, I can't adjust grades, nor am I going to allow, okay, because you're going to lose financial aid, I'm going to extend it for 3 days for you. The answer to that is no. And the reason being is I gave you the life happens time during the 11 weeks during the course to finish up everything. So unless there's a wrong calculation in the grade book, there's a very low probability on this, because all scores automatically transfer over. So that should not be an underlying issue there. And unless there's a discussion forum that wasn't scored correctly, again, very low probability that it would ever change. So again, we're going to talk about here in the next few minutes the chances to ensure that you maximize the grade, because everything is going to stay open until that last day of class for 90+% of everything that you can score points on. So we'll talk about that here in the next few minutes. All right. One thing I want everybody to be on the same page. After you take the final exam and you look at the overall points earned, you need 900 points to earn an A, 800 points to earn a B, 700 points to earn a C, and 600 points to earn a D. And this is listed inside the syllabus, inside the class portal. I want to make sure everybody is aware that borderline consideration is not taken into account. So if you have 899.9 points, that is going to be a B for the class. Now, I'm going to talk about how to rectify that if you're only a few points off, or you want to get to that next grade. What can you do as the student to ensure that you get up to that next grade if the points are available to earn? So borderline is not taken into consideration. If it's not 900 or more points and it's 899.95, that is not an A, that is a B. You can correct that, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. So I want to make sure everybody's on the same page that, and I get this question from advisors too on occasion that, oh, 899.5 rounds to an A. No, it does not. The syllabus clearly states 900 points for an A, 800 points for a B, 700 for a C, 600 or more for a D, and 0 to anything not including 600 is an F. So How do you correct that? Next slide's going to address it. So let's say you are sitting a few points away from, you're sitting at 895 points after taking the final exam. You need 5 more points to get to an A. How do you correct that? Well, since day 1 all the way through the end of week 11, every homework, quiz, practice midterm exam if you did not take it, practice final exam, all of those guys, the 90+% remains open to complete. So go back, do a few homework problems, get those correct, earn the points, get up to the A. Or that if you're sitting at 795 points and you need to get to a B, earn those additional points that are out there. You're at 785 points. You need 15. Odds are there are points between the homework assignments as well as taking an additional attempt on a quiz that can maximize your score to get to that next level. But the key is the ball is in your court in terms of earning those points. I'm not going to gift an additional set of points because, quote unquote, you were close to it. You need to do the effort as the adult learner to get to that next level. Now, if you've got 785 points and you're happy with a C, that's perfectly fine. That is your prerogative. There is no additional action that's needed. However, if I don't want to have dialogues back and forth saying, okay, all right, I'm really, really close to, to that A, and I'm at 890 points. Is that going to be an A? I'll refer you back to this video saying, hey, here's how you get the additional 10 points to get up to that 900 to get the A inside of the class. So just to reiterate, as this example, even if it's 899.99, you must have 900 or more points to get an A. You must have 800 or more points to get to the B, 700 or more points to the C, 600 or more points to the D. Any points less than that is the lower grade. So in this example, the student, after everything closes inside of my stat lab, has 899.62 points. Folks, that is a B inside the class. And again, I cannot stress that enough. You have the rest of this week after you take the final exam. That's why I recommend doing it by Thursday or Friday. Hey, you see the score on the final exam? Oh man, I'm really close. I got 10 points that I need to earn to get to that A. Go back, do some homework problems, retake a quiz attempt. You can't do the discussion forums, and don't ask me to reopen discussion forums. That's not part of it. Assignment 1.2 is not part of it as well. But anything else that is my stat related, you can go back, with the exception of if you've already taken the midterm exam once and you can't retake the final exam. That's only one. But all the other homework and quizzes, go back, do some additional work, get those additional points. Boom, you're up to that next level on the grade. So hopefully that makes sense in terms of the expectation. I do not give points. Those have to be earned. That is the responsibility of the adult learner, and it is in your court in terms of that responsibility. All right, last slide, my availability for week 11. Same as the previous 10 weeks. I'll be available Monday through Friday, unless otherwise announced inside the class portal. Benchmark to get back with you is 24 hours. Now, week 11, I guarantee I'm not going to be sitting late 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock on a Sunday night answering emails. So if it's the case where you don't log into HonorLock and you haven't had it resolved by then, there's no sense in sending me an email, because you're going to get the same response as what I've talked about here inside the presentation. So again, please be proactive. The last time I will be answering emails in week 11 is going to be early morning on Saturday of week 11. So again, I'm not going to be checking emails late Sunday night for those that wait until the last minute. Now, again, I fully understand students' availability inside the course, and if Sunday night's the time to do it. But hopefully by then you have HonorLock already up and running. You don't have any underlying issues with that. So contact information hasn't changed since day one. My email address, Google phone is listed there. I hope you've enjoyed the class. Hopefully you have more of an appreciation of statistics from the past 11 weeks, and I wish you the best in your future studies. Take care. Thank you.